Hi. Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the demo day on the 29th of April, Friday, 4. Yeah, so me and Chris, I'm going to show you some cool stuff that we've gotten completed lately. The thing I'll be demoing is the sentiment tool, which now works across chains. So we can now actually set up other chains that Fry might be bridged to and actually count the votes on there as well without transactions needing to go on chain or anything to that effect. And I'll demo that now. And then Chris did a lot of digging on CULT DAO. And I believe he's at the edge of almost doxing, but I don't think he'll actually dox them, their founders. Yeah, and just some of the path that CULT DAO seems to have taken to get the market cap and the treasury values that they got. So yeah, let me kick off on my side here. Okay, so basically what I just want to show you guys very quickly is if we go here to the sentiment app, which is at dashboard foundry.com sentiment, but this is all live at the moment. And you go look at these various polls, like this very serious first poll and this joking second poll over here. You'll see, for instance, here that if we look at, let's say, for instance, this one here that says, should we ban mentions of people's polls? Is in reference to Bobo's comments from a few weeks ago. You'll see here that this account voted yes, we should ban those. Just want to show you like what the total amount is there. So that's about 6,025,000, give or take. Yeah, and what we'll see here is if we go to mainnet, we'll see that account, just so that I prove it's the same one, so EE77, it only has about 248,000 Fry on mainnet. But if we go to RBScan, we see that it has bridged Fry the amount of about 1,777 million Fry, and that it has G Fry also in the Arbitrum. So that's about 4 million. If you add those numbers together, you basically get to around that number there. So this is all basically, and it's all getting updated live as well. So if this account would vote on anything else, even while you're just watching it, whenever the refresh happens, that'll actually update automatically without even manually refreshing. It's just actually yeah, so very excited about the extension there, and really want you guys to please vote, start voting. What I'll also do, and I think we'll demo that next week, is I'll also just demo the tool to actually make different polls, so that anybody can basically add one here. There is already a link in the Telegram. I think it's about 2 pinned messages up where you can just go. It's ultra simple to make one of these polls. You can poll the community on basically anything. Yeah, and then they can just come to the sentiment voting tool and actually vote on stuff. Then the next feature that I'm working on here is the counting of liquidity tokens as well. So if you provide Fry liquidity on any of the pools, that if you vote here, it'll actually go calculate how much Fry your liquidity accounts for and add that to your voting total here. So yeah, so pretty cool stuff in that regard. Yeah, that's all I have for now. Chris, over to you.
Cool, thank you, Schalk. I'm going to try and show, I've got a lot of information and a lot of tabs open. So I'm going to try and show everything in the correct order, and then please stop me or feel free to ask any questions, and I'll be glad to answer those. I'll also be switching between quite a few tabs just to get all the information out there. Yeah, so from digging all over the internet, I think for the project CULT DAO, 2 possible founders, although nothing is confirmed and I don't know whether we'll ever be able to find out exactly who they are. But I do think the Bankless guys has a strong connection, and also a guy called Justin Wu. Well, at least somebody mentioned that the Twitter account Hackerpreneur is Justin Wu. But I think actually if you do search for that on Twitter, let me just do this. Screen sharing is always in the, this Zoom bar, sorry, it's always in the way. But I think this person is actually Justin Hu, if I'm not mistaken. Just try and copy that again. Entrepreneur. Okay, the account doesn't say that, but apparently somebody said it's Justin Hu, and when I searched for Justin Hu, I got to this account, and I did actually find the exact retweet, so I'm pretty sure it is this person. So we can see quite a sizable account. Now, let's start with that event because it's a very interesting one. Obviously, we've been graphing things over time, and I did actually come across some sites. So when I searched for CULT DAO crypto on Google and basically went through every single page on Google, I believe there was 7 or 8 pages with results. I went to every link to find where they listed themselves, etc. And I got to some, very interesting things about the project, and some things that didn't make sense whatsoever. But in any case, I think let me just start with that. What I just wanted to mention before interrupting myself there, I actually found a site that graphs the price over time and then maps events over that graph. They only show centralized exchange listings, but I could see that every time they were listed on a centralized exchange, they got quite a big bump on the price.
That's pretty cool. You should definitely put these links in the show notes.
Yeah. Another very interesting thing is I found Gate.io startup thing. So what they essentially do here is they aim to kind of excel the technology industry, and so what they do is they sell crypto project at a discount, and they show all the past projects that they've done this with, and you can see all of them have raised in the order of $70 million. Now, this to me still is confusing. I found this recently, so I'm going to look into this a bit more because that number seems very high. They said that the target was $247,000, but that they actually raised 74.35 million. Now, this doesn't, well, from what I could find, is this doesn't actually go directly to the project, but rather the exchange buys a lot of tokens from the project at a discounted price, and then they sell that, which obviously the exchange makes a profit from, but then that boosts the trading volume and it boosts the price, etc., allowing you to list on more exchanges and kind of repeat the process. So
I think I think something we should definitely research is exactly how the process works with Gate.io, exactly what they actually do there. I know you and I had like a long discussion earlier the week about how why the exchanges might actually list the thing, but just that I think if we can understand how they, well, first of all, how this specific startup platform of theirs works, and also like just what the economics are for an exchange to list a new token. I know we had the whole discussion about, if they could have bought it cheap, then they could resell it to their users more expensively. That whole discussion, if we could clarify those two things, I think would be very, very helpful.
Yeah, I actually have some clarity on that already. Exchanges such as Gate.io don't list tokens that don't reach a certain total daily volume. Now, I tried to find out, and they wouldn't tell me what it is, but they simply said you need to reach a certain daily volume. Now, one can go and look at the daily volume when these guys were listed, but we're talking in the order of a few $1 million per day trading volume before you can go to an exchange like Gate.io or what's the other one, AXC. I hope I'm remembering the name correctly, but I did actually map exchanges they listed on over time as well. So yeah, you can see they're only listed on Gate.io on the 13th of April, where they're listed on these much smaller exchanges quite a long time ago. So you definitely, we can look at Gate.io's listing requirements and AEX, their listing requirements, but I can guarantee you we won't get listed now because of the daily trading volume that's just way too low. So that's why they started with these really smaller guys, Hotbit is actually fairly, yeah.
Well, I think I think two aspects there, right? I mean, okay, so what you're saying is, just to clarify, that the daily trading volume is the minimum they want because that's how they make fees. Is that the connection? So in other words, if the daily trading volume is already over a certain point, then them listing it just at, they'll definitely get some aspect of that volume, and then they make money from that. Is that their primary driver, as far as you can tell?
Yeah, because I found cases where the exchanges were even willing to bypass their own regulations to list a token when the daily trading volume was enough. So you can see that on Gate.io's page, the startup sale amount started is this 9.5 trillion CULT that they actually started off with on the exchange. So, but when they buy, now here's also a very interesting other thing. So what it seems like is the startup is used to raise US dollar liquidity, which is then used to list the token, because the total value of orders in USDT, the 74 million, is the same amount that they raised in the startup thing. So some people said that you have to provide the liquidity to the exchange. Other people said no, the exchange buys the tokens from you to list it, often at a cheaper price, so they can make a profit. But it seems what Gate.io does is they run this kind of startup thing where they raise the capital and then they list the token. But you're right in saying that their incentive is they'll buy the tokens, for instance, for $1 from you, and they'll sell them for $1.20. And because their user base doesn't necessarily even look where they can find the token at another place for cheaper, they buy it from them. It's much like you're buying from a more known franchise than a less known franchise. You're buying the same thing, but you're paying more just because you know these guys well. And that's kind of something that exchanges do as well. So they just sell the tokens more expensive to their buyers than they bought them from, and they keep the profits. But a big exchange like Gate.io, as you can see, they put in some big bucks, and they want to know if they're buying that token already has illustrated a certain amount of daily trading volume, so that they know they won't lose their money. Now, some people even write bots to trade the token to fake the daily volume, but these exchanges have ways of figuring that out as well. So you literally have to just work at it, get your trading volume to a certain point, and then as you increase the trading volume, you can list on more and more of these exchanges. But definitely the big guys, you can't target them without a sufficient daily trading volume, because there's not enough guarantee for them that they'll sell the tokens they bought from you at a sufficient profit. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I only started looking into this exact thing quite earlier today, so I'm not, some of the things I'm saying, might not be 100% accurate, but I'm fairly certain that's the way it works, at least for some exchanges. So yeah. Anything else before I continue? I think you're muted.
I do want to say at the peak day that of Fry's trading, I think the peak day we saw 1.6 million in volume, right? Basically through Uniswap coming in and out. Now, I do think that there are oftentimes things where, where once, I mean, you can definitely reach that level sustainably on just Uniswap. So, I'd be very curious to see MEXC's, or what is it? It's MECX, MEX. I'd love to see their minimum volume listing requirements. That would be very interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, but we could just go and look at the volume when the exchange is listed, or when the exchange listed the token. And you can see on the day they listed the token, I assume this is billion of CULT. So we just look at the price at which they listed divided by 45 billion, and we'll know how many dollars was the volume in that day, and that would give us a rough indication of what their listing requirements are. Let me just see if we can find the listing price. Average distribution per user in USDT. Number of orders. Yeah, in order to, okay, I don't want to make the video too long, but the point is we should be able to find that by just looking at the day they listed and what the volume was on that day to figure out more or less what the trading volume of the token is in order to get it listed. Yeah. Anything else on this specific thing?
Not specifically, you can go on.
So I do see $438,000 in the last 24 hours on Gate.io. So yeah. Okay, so back to the timeline. Some other very interesting findings. So the CULT DAO sale goes live on the 1st of February 2022. So what I do is I put references to every event so that we don't just suck these things out of our thumbs. We can actually say, you know, here's the evidence. But I want to show you why I'm quite confident that this person is a co-founder of the project. So I put the timestamp for us there. The public round of CULT sale is live, and then give a link to their Unicrypt. This was tweeted at 12 a.m. on the 1st of February. 12 minutes later, this hackerpreneur guy tweets, retweets this post. Now, I mean, it's entirely possible for such a big account to pick up on these things and retweet it very quickly. But reading the conversation and this person finding it 12 minutes after the sale launched, I'm fairly confident this person is a co-founder. I mean, you might still say, okay, I can't confirm that 100%, but I'm fairly certain. I'm sure you would agree with me.
It's the whole argument of like, if the grass is wet, that doesn't mean it rains. That's true, but it's more likely that it rained than it didn't rain.
Yeah. So one of the first things, obviously, this tweet gave the project a nice boost. It in itself didn't necessarily gain massive reach, but this is a big Twitter account, and obviously this person knows other people, especially in the metaverse. You can see this is a very connected person in the crypto sphere. And I mean, you can go and look more at the account, but this definitely gave the project a nice little boost from day one. Now, CULT used the platform, what's it called, where they launched the token. I mean, there's so many different links and stuff, but in any case, they launched the platform, okay, sorry, on Unicrypt. And if you go back to the Twitter account, you can find all these things. But again, then 12 February, they raised their soft cap of 125 ETH. And again, if you look at the time slot, this was at 8:39 a.m. of that day. So they launched the sale at 12 a.m. and about almost 9 hours later, they already reached their soft cap of 125 ETH. They then listed the project or the CULT listing, and then the tokens obviously started distributing, and that's where we saw that initial bump. You can also see that if you look at this tweet, sorry, this stuff might be boring, but I think it is important just to show that we are actually backing our research with some solid stuff. So they said we'll list at 20 UTC, so that's 8 p.m. in the evening. And if you go look at the query that you wrote for us, you'll see that the nice bump in token holders happened exactly at 8 p.m. on that day. So that tweet, 189 more token holders. Yeah, so I'm not, Schalk, you might know more about this, but the conclusion I'm making is they raised the 125 ETH from 189 people. That's what it, certainly what it seems like.
Yeah, it definitely does.
So that's roughly 0.66 ETH on average per person that they raised. But in any case, going on further on in the timeline, here's some very interesting stuff. So as we can see, CULT, so they went live at 20 UTC, 2000 on the 1st of February. So 0 trading volume, right? This is, they had the pre-sale, then the public sale, tokens were distributed, no trading yet. But on 31st of January, they were already listed on CoinMarketCap. How do we know this? Well, so that's why I'm just going to share another screen. I've got Postman open here for us. So I did a GET request to the CoinMarketCap API, and they're very cool. They return a bunch of information for you, as we know, but they also tell you the date the token was added. So you can see on the 31st of January at 2:46 and 54 seconds, they even give you that this token was added to CoinMarketCap. But I mean, even the smaller listing guys did not want to list the Lemmer token because they said you don't have enough of a daily trading volume. So, and CoinMarketCap, from all of the guys, I mean, I've been applying this week to get this token on many of these sites. So here's my list of sites. I mean, since I did that update, I've been doing a lot more. So I've done CoinGecko, CoinCodex, CoinList, LiveCoin Watch, CoinRanking, CoinStats, WorldCoin Index, and CryptoRank. I still have to do these other ones. Some have more strict listing requirements, but we've already been rejected by some of the small guys like LiveCoin Watch because they say we don't have enough daily trading volume. But what's interesting though, and these might be tokens that are listed previously, but there are some tokens, or a lot of tokens actually, with 0 trading volume that's still on the platform. So that's also quite interesting. But the fact of the matter is these guys were able to list on CoinMarketCap, which is the most difficult of them all, with 0 trading volume, which to me points connections. And obviously, if we look at this account, this is obviously a connected account. 229,000 followers. You can follow this person. You know, this is a big account, so they got some nice backing from this person to launch the project. So definitely quite interesting. Now, I think I'll start concluding because it's already been a lot, but you would ask, is it really important to be listed on CoinMarketCap? Well, I just want to show you that. So we use bought this nice subscription, SimilarWeb, quite useful software. They show you a lot of information, and you can see here that the top referring websites to CultDAO.io is actually CoinMarketCap. So it's a really important one to be listed on. This in itself gives you a nice boost. It also shows like new listings, trending listings, those kind of things. They tweet sometimes when they list new projects. All of that gives you nice little exposure to your project and gives you some new eyes, bigger investors, etc. So it is really important to be listed, and especially that early on, because that's like when you're launching your first sale and you're listing, you're fueling the fire. So yeah, that's why we've also been working hard at getting these listings on the various coin tracking sites. And yeah, I think one other thing I wanted to show is I'm using follower wonk to look at the followers of CULT DAO. I'm looking at reciprocal followers. So trying to not just look at people that follow CULT DAO, but people that CULT DAO have actually also integrated with, or sorry, not integrated, interacted with. And what I'm then doing is I'm looking at the account names, and I'm looking at references. So you can, obviously with Twitter's advanced searches, is pretty cool. There's a lot of criteria you can use on this thing. You can say, if a tweet contains any of these words, and it's from this account. So that's essentially what this does. If you put a word in brackets, the tweet can contain that word. Or you could do something like this, contains CULT or DAO, and you'll see it finds a lot more results. But if you just want to look at this account for CULT, you can see this guy on Twitter. He said to CULT DAO on the 5th of February, that's obviously 4 days after launch. He's like, so that's when their staking went live. He said, awesome work, CULT DAO, let's do some business together. So he's got a nice few followers. He's got about 2.4 million. And I already reached out to this guy. He responded quite quickly, and he charges what's in the order of $340 for a pin post. I don't know if he paid that himself to pin his own post, but $340 to pin a post for 8 hours on his account. He does seem to get quite a nice bit of exposure, and there are a lot of accounts, lists of accounts I could find that do something similar to this. And definitely these guys all reach out to these kind of accounts. They do sponsored articles. They do their centralized exchange listings. They list on these coin sites to boost the project. So I think this is a very, yeah, it's certainly interesting to see how the other projects are doing it. And I think one last thing I just want to show is the importance. So in my research, I found another thing called gempad.app. So what these guys do, they ran a special for the entire April. Their KYC and listing admin or something was free. But just to show you, so this Cosmic Finance, and like, I mean, I've read some of these projects, like, I don't know, this yo-yo thing talks about the tokenomics, but it doesn't actually say what it is even. And it's on here. But just to show everybody some interesting stuff, where did I find that screen? Why does it say no data? What's going on here now? The platform is, okay, there's obviously something wrong because now there's, all of a sudden there's 3 projects. Okay, anyways, they, I found some projects, interesting projects on here as well. One called Orbit. So the Orbit dashboard. And these guys again raised a few hundred ETH. And quite a lot of the guys raise big capital by just using this launchpad, this Gempad launchpad. Let me just see if I can quickly clear the cache of this side. It seems to be hanging quite weirdly. Okay, this site's obviously broken, but I mean, look at this project, for instance. They wanted to raise, so the hard cap was 250 ETH, and they raised 60% for liquidity. They show the breakdown here. Tokens for liquidity, total supply. This might be a token that's, oh wait, sorry, they did raise the entire 250 ETH just from this launchpad, this Gempad platform. So what the guys essentially do, okay, there we go, so it's working now. And they give you different packages where they promote your token as well. But looking at where CULT launched, obviously also on the launchpad, that's quite interesting to see the effect that that has on your traction for the token. Yeah, I mean, there's so much stuff that I uncovered. I don't want to spend you know, all the time just going through this, but definitely these are all the sites where CULT listed themselves. Definitely very interesting. So yeah, for the moment, we've been gathering all the requirements to list on these token sites, contacting these influencers. We got all the stuff in place, white paper, etc. I think the last thing that we really need to get in place is a demo of the dashboard, the actual dashboard, how Leverly is going to work. as well as an explainer video showing that, so people can actually see like a visual representation of the dashboard. But for the moment, we keep on pushing these listings. We keep on reaching to influencers, getting more activity on the Twitter account, following the stuff we see other projects have done to, reach success, and then hopefully start listing on some centralized exchanges and getting nice volume through that. So yeah, that's essentially the feedback from my side.
Chris, a couple of things just so that so the first thing I just want to point out is, so we're still not 100% sure if there was anything on the 25th of March that caused that bump. You didn't find anything additional that seems to indicate that.
Sorry, Schalk, see my laptop is gonna die. Let me just grab a charger quickly, 1 second.
Okay.
Yo. Muted. You're muted.
So were you able to find?
Okay.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
So so were you able to find anything about the event of the 25th of March? I know that's when they handed over control of the thing, and that's when it went truly bonkers. Did you find anything else indicative of how it went so viral on that specific day yet?
No, I've been looking at just how they bootstrapped and how other projects bootstrapped the project first.
Okay.
The massive bump is relevant, and I'll definitely look into that. But I feel what's most relevant for us now is actually bootstrapping the thing, getting enough funds to start building the platform, etc. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely still planning on looking into that event where they had the massive bump. Like you said, they did give over control to the community, and there's probably some other stuff as well. My hunch at this stage is they, at that stage when they gave over control and the treasury was kind of in the control of the community, they were able to start doing far more of these things. For instance, they started doing far bigger listings on centralized exchanges. All of these things had influence. Let's actually just see. Yeah, so they listed on iBank and Hotbit around that same time. So I'll try and find that site as well that maps it over time and see if we can find some correlation. But for the moment, I haven't looked at that yet. No.
Okay, cool. So if I can get this out of what you just shared, so there are two valuable things we see here, right? The one thing is that it seems that the launch pads, I would say action this specifically, see what is necessary to do a moderately successful launch on one of those launch pads. So let's go look at the other things that launched, especially the ones where maybe there wasn't full KYC or something to that effect, right? See how those went, because I think that'll give us a good idea of what we can expect. Maybe if we also go, okay, well, listen, we're going to pivot in the direction of how we raise funds to one of those launch pads, right?
So just for clarity, the launchpad just does KYC on the owner or the guy that launches the project. They don't actually do KYC. Yeah, they don't actually do KYC on the buyers. So only when you take their, I think, platinum or gold package do they do KYC on the buyers as well. That's where they promote it, for instance, to a certain level. But on the smaller projects that I could find that raised in the order of 250 ETH required zero KYC. Nor did, so where CULT launched, zero KYC. They didn't have any KYC. So yeah, I mean, I know for a fact already that at least two projects I looked at had no KYC, and they were very successful in their token sale.
Okay, cool. Well, I think let's go look at a few projects maybe. And I mean, you don't have to go into this kind of depth, but maybe just see what the most contracted amount of effort is for us to launch on one of those, and what we could realistically expect at this point in the market. Because I think maybe the key source there is that there's a lot more exposure there. And we might actually like sell some amount of tokens on more than one of these platforms. I mean, it's totally an option. You know, we can definitely go out and do it that way, you know, and we can even, I mean, as far as Leverly is concerned, it's still very small. I mean, we can renegotiate with the 36 people who hold it at this point, you know, you know, and make a deal that sort of like actually gets us to where we need to be, you know, a little bit faster than the plan we're taking at the moment. So I definitely think that's an option. And the second thing that I see that and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the second thing you've been looking for is what early influencers that CULT use to actually push the project forward. And it seems to me like at least that one guy that you found is somebody who we could use and who has an enormous base that can actually like push a, you know, that can actually push a project's information forward. Am I right in that you're looking those up as well?
Yeah, and like I said, I've already reached out to some and got some answers already back. But just to, before I answer that, because I've reached out to a, not really a venture fund, but something similar for the project, but just to show the community, looking at app.unicrypt.network, that launchpad where CULT DAO launched already at 1.622 million visitors per month worldwide. So it's certainly not the biggest website, but you know, if you have 1.6 million visitors already to your site, and the only thing you're doing there is you're launching crypto projects, the sheer fact that you're listing your project there, I mean, I saw crappy projects with like really terrible, and they've raised funds through these launchpads just because of the exposure. Now, what's in it for the launchpad? They take a share of the token. So for instance, I could see that Gempad, let's just see, where did they have that service fees? So as you can see, if you're doing a common launchpad, or let's take a gold on, for instance, costs you 0.15 ETH plus 2% of the ETH raised. That's what's in it for them. So yeah, I mean, I don't think the requirements of using this could be too hard. They obviously don't have an insane amount of projects. This launchpad is still fairly new. But I mean, just look at, not to say anything bad about anybody's projects or anything, but I mean, Yo-Yo is a unique kind of reflection token. We have basic functions as taxes of 9% with a 6% distribution and USD to eligible holders, but implemented amazing new features. 50% of the tokens are ecosystem tokens with distinct functions, giving Yo-Yo Vision the power to grow. 100% of those tokens are locked with DX lock. We did our KYC with Nanyuk, and yeah, I mean, okay, I read the whole thing and I couldn't see what these guys actually do. So, and they're on this launchpad. So they're obviously launching in 21 minutes. It would be interesting to keep an eye on this project and actually see how much they gain. They do have a soft cap of 25 ETH, and 60% is going into liquidity. Yeah, so I think there's definitely a very good, you know, kind of exposure just using these launchpads. And as you say, maybe saying, okay, you know, lever holders, we want to mint X amount of lever and continue the curve sale from that point onwards, but use like this amount and sell it from a launchpad, just so we can actually get funds for, you know, reaching out to more marketing guys, paying them for featured stuff, getting sponsored articles out there, you know, getting more people on the team, because this stuff is extremely time consuming, and we're a small group of people with limited capacity. If we can start building a team that can help run the accounts, do more of this regularly, get more developers on the team, so we can actually start building the actual Lemmer platform. If we can get enough funding just to do that and continue iterating through this process, I believe, shall we maybe briefly talk about float finance?
I think let's skip float for now. Okay. But I do think we should do a video on them. I think maybe next week you and I should just do a quick review of them. Maybe both of us just scan their white paper. It is very technical, and then we can have a chat about that situation.
Yeah. Cool. But I think at least for now, that is the gist of it. Sorry for the long video and for the rambling, but I do hope
that's excellent, dude. I think we did excellent work here. Like, you did excellent work here. Like, really, I mean, really insightful stuff that we came back with now. I mean, if these launchpads are a better way to actually get stuff done, which makes a lot of sense to me because they have a lot of reach directly into, and like you said, those 1.6 million people, the majority of them go there to get early in on on projects. So so definitely something worth looking into. I think if you spend the remainder, if you spend pretty much your foreseeable amount of time just sussing out exactly what a good launch strategy is for us there, some combination of maybe a launchpad and those influencers, I think that's an incredibly good use of time.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that the majority of the projects on the launchpads take 60% of the generated funds into liquidity. So very similar to what we've been doing with Leverly. Obviously, we take 66% if you want to be very particular about it. But these guys really do prioritize not getting, and some of them keep 100% of the team's tokens locked for like years to come. So they're really not there to just bump and dump on you, because there's very clear data where I can see massive bumps and then just massive dumps. Obviously, early people getting in, team members just dumping on you, taking all your capital and running away with it, and then the projects kind of smooth out. So these launchpads also do keep that thoroughly in mind. Most of them had either 40 to 60% in liquidity, which for me is a good thing.
I agree. Cool. Thank you, Chris. Post this as soon as possible, please. Okay, I think this is very cool.
Cool. I'll do so.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Bye.